All right, everyone, welcome to the Sicstringcanvas podcast. I'm your host, Dan Chun, and I'm here with a wonderful, wonderful guest, the most talented singer-songwriter, Jaimie Poon. Jaimie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Hi, guys.
Hello to the internet. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah? Yeah, you
How's
look
Sorry,
happy.
go ahead.
You look happy.
Thank you. Honestly, it's like even during this time of quarantine, it's been like really nice to just I don't know, just spend time with God, and like that's where I get all my like joy and creativity from.
Yeah?
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
You, you, uh, you always seem to be smiling. I remember we don't know each other. We haven't known each other that long. But once we got connected, I watched your YouTube videos and your videos and your songs and your covers, and you're always smiling. Are you
I
a very smiley person? Are you always smiling?
I guess so, and I think it's because like I mentioned this like before our interview, but I teach kids,
Mm-hmm.
and like I mean we become the people almost that we hang out with often. So
Oh,
I mean like I think because I'm around like these 4 to 6 year olds, I'm always so like smiley, and I don't even realize that I'm smiling. Like when like the other day, my boss he was like, "Oh, even when you're scolding the students, you're smiling."
really?
Yeah.
When you
So that's
scold
something I'm working on.
your work, do you ever frown?
I do. I have my moments. I'm a very sensitive artist.
That's what I think. That's the most sensitive artists are what make yeah, that makes them like really good ones. I think you need that, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you don't. It's not. Well, it is. There is math involved, but you know what I mean. It's not all calculated. It's spur of the moment. It's a give and take. I've had this conversation with other guests as well. But yeah, I love your like just your vibe is very infectious, and I mean that in a good way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, so I'm really glad you're here because, like I tell my guests, I'm here because I genuinely want to get to know you. And I think you're a great artist, but also because you seem like a really nice person, and for me, I there's a lot of questions like where do you get your inspiration from, like what makes you what do you how do you consider yourself as a person, as an artist, in terms of your identity, all these things, and we'll get to all that. But before we do you want to give us another not another like sort of like a brief intro, like um who you are, uh why you decide to be an artist? It seems like you're doing it full time, at least music. Like, what's your motivation for that?
Sure. So, I'm Jaimie Poon. I'm an like I would call myself not just a musician, but a creative person
Mm-hmm.
or a Christian creative. And I would call myself a musicianary as well. So,
Mm.
but I believe that the arts, like, there's this creative mission that God has given all artists to spread the gospel, like to spread His name of who He
Mm-hmm.
is. To everyone, and it's like through beauty where that's how people are attracted to that, and then through beauty we get to tell people who God is. So yeah, I'm like creative. I really like visual arts. I used to paint a lot, not as much nowadays because I've been focusing more on music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what else? Oh yeah, and I also used to dance as well, not as often, same because of music. But yeah, and I also teach as well. Like I love kids, and yeah, I've been like teaching piano for almost 4 years. So yeah,
Wow. At the Yamaha Music School, right?
yeah.
Um, what does what is the job? I don't want to use the word. Okay, fine. Just for lack of better terms, what is the job description of a musicianary? Like, what does that look like practically? Because
Mhm.
I find that really interesting. I've never heard that term before, and it intrigues me.
So it's like the word music and missionary together.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's like music is just the vessel to like it's like the Trojan horse where it's like music is like you see on the outside, but inside once listeners really dive deep into it and like sit in the lyrics and like sit in the chords and the melodies, they're able to find Jesus in that.
Mm, that's
So it's sort of like if you're, I mean, musicians like we go on tour, like we have shows, and then for musicianaires, it's like we do the exact same thing, but it's like we're also able to share like the story and like and the biggest story, which is who Jesus is.
mm, wow. So so you're a songwriter and you keep that intentional when you are writing the lyrics, I'm guessing.
Yeah, like it's not like I'm gonna specifically like I mean when I write a song, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna specifically write about the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me living life and the things that God will like show to me.
So interesting. Do you find that because songs can evoke um, a happy, a sad kind of mood. You kind of get that, right? Like major, minor key, that sort of thing. Do you find yourself intentionally, unintentionally, um, having a wide range of musical styles as a musicianary? Um, I think yeah. So like do you because I always say that Jesus meets us where we are. So we know that that Jesus loves those who are obviously happy and sad and in between. So I was just wondering, like, I'm thinking out loud, like how does like do you is that intentional as well, or is that something you keep in mind? Just do you find basically like different types of musical style important as a musicianary?
Mm. Well, when I'm writing, I think that my writing just comes from what I've been listening to.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to a lot of like Tom Niche, Stevie Wonder is definitely inspiration,
Yeah.
and like Mac Ayres. So sort of like the new soul R&B sort of stuff, like Moonchild. And I think I mean, I don't write specifically thinking, oh, I'm gonna write in this genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of comes from what I've been listening to. And I think this specific genre that I've been writing in, I mean, I think more recently there's been more Christian music in the style of like jazz and like R&B and neo soul. But yeah, like I'm just like hoping to like uh sort of like be like a part of this growing genre of like Christian jazz music, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does, but I wasn't aware of that because, truth be told, um, it's been hard for me to follow that genre for the past few years. I don't know why, but I think that's really interesting how you say that a lot of them are kind of moving towards jazz because I love jazz. It was so those artists that you mentioned like Mac Ayres and Stevie Wonder, are they also were they your influences as well? I guess musically, like who were your influences?
Yeah, for sure. Like I really like colorful chord progressions, and so
Mm.
yeah, like Stevie Wonder for sure.
Oh, wonderful.
Like Ain't You Lovely, like You're the Sunshine of My Life, like those are like my favorite songs. And yeah, so just like I really like exploring different um like chords that can really support what's happening lyrically.
Mm. I there was a time in my like I think I was about I guess maybe around your age, at the risk of sounding like a really old guy, but but
You were
I don't know. You look really young.
I look like I'm 14, but I'm like turning 25 next month.
No way.
Yeah,
That's still young, but you look like you're
I look
15.
like I'm 14.
That's yeah, yeah. Maybe I was a little young. Anyways, like in university, that's when maybe even earlier than that. Um, I discovered Stevie Wonder, and I just fell in love with his music. I just fell in love with him. I'm like, oh my goodness, where have you been all my life?
I know, right?
Um, no, sorry, I really got into like listening to his music that age, but the first time I heard him, I was probably younger, because it was on the Disney Channel, and you might be too young to remember this, but there was or like the Family Channel, they would have like a Disney production, like a whatever like show for like a few hours, and then they would um, make their own music videos using like certain songs, like pop songs, and they would use like clips from like movies. And I remember they did like a clip. They used clips from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and My Sherry Amore came on,
No way.
and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like the most beautiful song I've ever heard. And I'm like,
Wait, this is Disney Channel?
yeah, this was like this is yeah. I remember I was younger. This that was the first time I heard Stevie Wonder. It was through. I don't think it was a Disney Channel back then. I remember it was a Family Channel. I remember it was
Yeah. Channel.
like
Yeah.
Channel 51, and then they would have like a time slot when they would have Disney shows or whatever. And I think it was on Sundays. They would once in a while they would have these music videos using popular songs, but then they would use clips from their own movies, and they used My Sherry Amore, and I was like, this is so unique. And so when people say, yeah, my influence is Stevie Wonder, yeah, like you've been brought up well. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Stevie Wonder. Oh, his like his new stuff is good too, but his old stuff is just to die for. Um, yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm kind of going in a Stevie moment right now.
Stevie is a wonder, I always say.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I always say Stevie is a wonder.
He is. He's such a wonder. I'm amazed that he's so unique. Um, like obviously his piano, he can play the piano, but I love his harmonica playing. I
Mm.
bought I bought it a long time ago. I bought $100 uh, chromatic harmonica, and I've blown on it twice because I was like, oh, I know what I have to do. I have to learn the scales because I got inspired by him, but I can't do it. So I still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Harmonicas are like impossible to play. My older sister, she's also a musician. She has one, and like she was just blowing at it,
yeah.
and it was just this is not working out.
But when I hear him play, I'm so inspired to learn. I'm like, I want to do that. Like he just kind of sings and he plays, and then I love how he just kind of like, whatever. I'll bring up and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so amazing. And he could play drums, he could play the bass. He's just the quintessential multi instrumentalist. Are
So
you?
is Collier.
I'm sorry.
I said so is Jacob Collier.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Are you a multi instrumentalist?
I am not, unfortunately. Really wish that like every single instrument I touched, I could be an expert on. But
Mm.
yeah, I've been playing piano for a while. So I did the whole RCM thing, did up to grade 10.
Okay.
And then yeah, and then like I just started writing music shortly after I finished like doing the classical training.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing guitar for like a year and 5 months. So
Wow, you've narrowed it down to that, like specifically in a year and 5 months. Is there some sort of milestone date that you remember that it's a year and 5 months?
well, is it 5 months? It was like November of like, yeah, it was in November because I remember that month specifically because my parents were out of the country. And
Oh.
so I had all this time, like the whole house, like, and all this time,
Mm-hmm.
and I just be like practicing like crazy.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
play the guitar, piano, play anything else?
I think that's it.
I'm sure
And
you
I,
dabble in some other instruments, right? But you don't consider yourself.
yeah, like
Yeah.
ukulele, like I have one, and occasionally I'll play on it, but I'm not very good because I don't practice it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I had this theory when I was a guitar teacher because I taught a lot of children, and they like I had like 4 or 5 year olds who want to play guitar. I'm like, there's no guitar big enough for your hands. And I thought, try the ukulele because the motions are the same, and I think there was something to that, but yeah, I didn't stay long enough to do that to find out. Um,
Actually, when I first started learning guitar, that was like just the first step, the
yeah.
first hurdle, me trying to like hold the guitar. Because my hands are pretty small,
Mm-hmm.
and just even holding it was a struggle, which is why I got a ukulele.
Ah, that's why. But then I saw you on your YouTube page. You were playing an electric guitar, so So much for that. You could play electric
Yeah.
guitar. I mean, yeah, it's a little light on your fingers, but still, it's a full size guitar. So good on
Mhm.
you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot of practice, but I did it.
Are you are you a solo artist, or are you also part of a band, or is it just by yourself?
Mhm. So I'm a solo artist, but I've been doing like diving into collaborations.
Right, and I think we'll get into it because I know you are. We have a mutual friend in Preston whom you've collaborated with. He's mentioned that in my interview with him. Um, but first, if you're as a solo artist, first of all, how long have you been a solo artist, and like how many albums do you have so far?
So yeah, I'm relatively new. So Patience of Light, which you guys can check out on Spotify, iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, music promo.
Nope,
But yeah,
it'll be
so
the we'll have the descriptions on, so that's fine.
okay. Cool. But yeah, so that was released in December. And so yeah, I'd say like that's just like the start of my career as like a solo musician.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you have one you have Patience Light, and you're working on your second one already.
Yeah,
Nice.
so in the like I'm in the works with a 5 song EP. So
It's funny
yeah.
you mentioned that because, and I did not plan on saying this. I promise you. I'm just gonna say now because we're just having a normal conversation. Um, I am going. I am fulfilling something on my bucket list, and I'm going to be writing an EP as well.
Woohoo, let's go,
Yeah,
Dan.
but I'm 37 freaking years old. It's about time. You know what? I always had this, not fear, but I'm just like, you know what? If you were gonna be a musician, or uh, if you're going to make an EP or something, you should have done this in your 20s. Um, but you know what? It's never too late to do it. I mean, I'm doing this podcast, so why not? I think doing this podcast helped me to kind of get used to the technical stuff, and yeah, it just like last night I was up till 3. I woke up at 3. I couldn't go to sleep, and I just kept on, like, all these ideas started coming in, and I think they're sticking. So I'm asking people to help out, but anyways, it's not about me. But yeah, but no, but I have 5 songs in the works because what I did was, so you and I know each other through songwriters, and I guess before you came on board, we used to have this thing called expressions and are you familiar with that?
Yeah, Simon told me about
Yeah. So
expression.
I featured a few times, and I wrote a few songs, and they sucked. Right? People liked it, but I thought it sucked. And I was just like, oh, it's kind of work in progress. But I took those and I kind of rewrote them, and I'm like, okay, I'm not stuck with them, but there's honesty in the lyrics.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I think for me, it's funny when you mention about like, um, when I write songs, like I told somebody else, I write a journal, just my raw emotional thoughts, and they're really raw. Uh, do you do that in your songwriting? Do you just kind of like, what is your approach to songwriting?
My approach is that I might actually the songs that I've written so far for
Mm-hmm.
like even the EP and even for Patience of Light, it just came through a time of like deep pain. And like I don't mean to be like a Debbie Downer, but like just like in my pain, I'll process through like just I'll like sit at the piano and just start like playing something,
Mm.
and then an interesting like melody or a chord progression will come up, and then like I just uh yeah, and then I'll write the lyrics after them. But yeah, I think I just like ride on a melody, just see like what happens from there. Hmm.
Mm. I'm tempted to ask you uh, that age old question. I think a lot of songwriters don't like it, but do you mind?
Go
Are
ahead, this
you,
is
when
my
you write a song,
podcast.
are you more do you come up with the melody first, or the lyrics first, or is it a mix of both? Um, and I think I consider myself a relatively new songwriter. I can come up with the lyrics, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, I love this melody, and I really want it to fit. So I feel like a lot of times there's a compromise there. So as a songwriter, how do you deal with that?
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, after like chord progressions always come first, and then
Oh,
I
really?
think, yeah, I
Well,
think just because, I mean, you mentioned that I'm like a singer-songwriter. I'd say I'm like a songwriter first before a singer. Like I honestly, I just sing because I have to, because I don't want anyone else to sing my songs. But like, and when it comes to melody and lyrics, I think it just really depends. Like sometimes yeah, sometimes like the lyrics will come first and then like I'll just have to like shift the melody to match,
mm-hmm.
or it's like yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah.
Well, I think vocals is also your voice is also an instrument too, and you have a wonderful voice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I just love how it's just something I do to supplement my songs. Your voice is amazing. I love it. You're not are you like trained in vocals, or is it just you just kind of uh
So mm,
yeah, so that yeah.
by the way, thank you so much because my voice as an instrument is something that I've actually struggled with for a while, and I
Really?
have seen like a speech language pathologist about like what's going on here. I mean, anatomically, there's nothing wrong, but
Mhm.
like even growing up, just me speaking was very, very difficult.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think I had like about 6 months of vocal training, and then just from my what I've learned, I've picked up some warm ups, and occasionally I'll practice those warm ups.
Mm.
But yeah, I think more recently it's just come to like I've come to accept the fact that like at least for now, like where I'm at, my with my abilities, with my singing abilities, I mean, I can't sing like super super loud, or like I'm not the type of singer to sing all these riffs, even though that's something that I'm working towards.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've just sort of accepted that. I think that a good singer is someone who is able to sing from their heart and to have someone else also experience the emotion as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's such a good point. Because I think I'm nowhere near as good a vocalist as you, or but I'm not tone deaf, so I can do it. But I think as I've kind of learned to the techniques, it's really about understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your limitations, and even like you saying like I can't do certain kinds of uh, I like certain kind of um, you were saying that there are certain techniques or certain ways you can sing that you're working on, right? And I think that's also very important because you just kind of assume, or at least when you first start singing, like, oh, just sing, right? But it's not. It's so much more complicated than that.
Mm,
And it's funny
yeah.
because like another one of my favorite vocalists is Frank Sinatra,
Mm,
and I love Frank Sinatra. I love his
ah,
voice. I love his tone, and I can't remember who it was. It was another singer who met him while he was still alive, and they asked him, like, Frank, like, your voice is so amazing. Like, like how do you do that? And he's just like, I don't know. I just open my mouth and it just comes out.
easy for you to say, Frank.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, I didn't learn a thing from him. And that's another issue. I think, and I think it's safe to say that those people who have natural tendencies like Frank Sinatra, as great as they are as musicians, they may not make the best teachers. Whereas people who can obviously have that kind of natural talent, but if they have a certain amount of training, someone like you, someone you studied this, right? You understand that as a teacher that kids need to learn the technical aspects. They need to learn theory. They need to learn these things so you can help them, right? And I think that's also very important.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can be a really good musician, but
Mm-hmm.
it's another skill to be able to
Yeah.
pass on that skill.
Yeah. To this day, I have no idea how I got a job as a guitar teacher. I worked at a small dance not a small dance. It's a good number, but they had a small music program. So I worked at a school. I majored in political science, and I went to seminary. It was on my resume. I'm like, how in the world did you hire me? I'm like, okay, I'll take the job. So to this day, I'm really grateful. Shout out to Cheryl. Uh, I'm having a good time. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm having a good time too.
Good to know. But we're pretty much at our break. So after our break, and when we come back, can we continue this conversation?
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, so we will be right back after this.
Soon as he's leaving, I'm begging and pleading. I hope I don't feel so bad. Of all the time I'm never getting back, it's true that I'd rather be alone with you. I'm ready and willing. She sent for the killing. We're just singing on at best. Of all the things I never would have guessed, it's true that I'd rather be alone with you. Getting used to the way, so used to.
All right, and we're back. Jamie, we're back.
Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
So what were we talking about before the break? I already forgot.
Oh, I think we were talking about like teaching music
That's
in
right.
Vivo.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that was a good topic to talk about. Let's talk about something else. So let's talk about some of your upcoming projects. You have, like again, you said that you have your first EP, Patience of Light, which we will give, we will provide the description. But what about the future? What does the future look like for Jaimie Poon?
Yeah. So, Patience of Light was a single. And so now I'm moving on to a much bigger project, so a
Mm-hmm.
5 song EP. Um, should I say the name? Yes. So the name is Ine, which is my middle name. And the name is actually my Chinese name, just English-fied. But I found out that my like the name Ine is means purity. So
Ooh.
and I noticed that like there's this certain like purity to my voice, and the songs on that EP will be talking about how my like innate brain, or how my like pure self like processes pain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm hoping to release each song month by month, and the first one will be out end of May. Hopefully,
Oh.
we're aiming for that. So very very soon. Yeah. So that's the EP. And then yeah, Preston and I were collaborating on a Mac Airs cover, and yeah, and that will also be out in May. So May is a very special time. Also my birthday month.
Nice. And it's in a few days. It's coming fast.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So by the time this interview is out, it'll have been out for a while.
True. Yes. Yeah.
Um but yeah, so it's April 29th, and hopefully you guys have listened to it. And are you active on your YouTube? Are you active on your YouTube account often? How often are you active on that and coming posting covers?
Yeah, I'm not very good at uploading on YouTube. I think that I've just been like there's just certain projects that I've been focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like YouTube is something that I think it's a really good platform, but I just had to be more disciplined with uploading
Mm-hmm.
covers and stuff. But yeah, I have a couple videos out. Like I I mean, I have some like music videos, and then I also have videos about the things that God has been teaching me. So these are more like devotional videos.
Right.
Um, so yeah, um, yeah, but I'm not too consistent with posting on YouTube. I think I'm more consistent with Instagram.
That's okay. That's good. I mean, I think Instagram is probably the most common and most effective platform these days. So it's good to be active on that. I'm trying to be active on it too. With Preston try to convince me more and more. Hey, like you should really be more active on that. Clean it up. So I've been doing that, and it's fun. Um, but you were saying also that music is not the only art form that you do. You were doing dance, writing. You did visual arts like painting. Did you paint or was it more? Uh,
Yeah, so I did. Yeah,
Go ahead.
so like painting, drawing,
Mm.
nothing, nothing. I don't really sculpt things. I'm not much of like a clay sort of person.
I,
Mm.
I think there's something to it when when artists are more diverse. I just have this theory, and it's just a theory. Because I didn't go to school for this or anything, but I think there's something more. There's another dimension that you could bring to your main artistry uh, when you're more well-rounded. For example, I think, like at least for me, when a musician who's just a musician, I think could be very good at it, and I think that's a great gift. But uh, I don't know. I feel like there could be more dimension added if if they're in other kinds of art, like if they are into fine art, or if they're into acting, or if they're into photography even, right? Because it kind of, I feel like it releases some creative juices that it can, you get inspired by things, because as I get older, I'm starting to enjoy and even participate in certain kinds of art form I never thought I would when I was younger, right? And I think for you, there's an advantage there. So I'm wondering, do you think you would you ever go back into those kinds of art forms again, or is there any other kind of art form that you want to try that, like as an
Yeah.
artist, do you still get scared to do something?
Well, I have a weird relationship with visual arts, and I think it's because before it used to be something where it would be like very relaxing for me, and I'd say that like my best pieces of visual artwork are the ones where I'm not thinking, that I'm actually in places where I'm not supposed to be drawing or painting. So if I'm at a restaurant and like it's not appropriate for like someone like me to be like drawing on the table while like everyone else is like having a conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, like that's where I'm most inspired. And I think more recently I haven't really been delving into visual arts because I just have this is my own myself pressuring myself, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like wanting to create something that's beautiful. Um and yeah, and just like feeling the pressure of like, oh, it needs to be good. um, I think, yeah, so that's currently what my relationship with visual arts is like. But yeah, I used to like paint a lot, and actually one of the paintings that I sent you, Dan, was featured at Artesiasm. So yeah, that painting was this isn't really answering your question, but
No,
I'll
no,
just
no.
talk
Keep
about
going. Keep going. Keep
it.
going.
um, but yeah, so like that painting was really relevant to me because um, at the time, like God was just speaking to me about who He was, and like how like the depths of His love through this the image of like waterfalls. And I think just like water is just something that God is really like always like speaking to me through.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so with this painting, I think it's from Psalm 42 verse 7. But you know the verse where it talks about like deep calls to deep.
Yes.
That one, yeah. So like there, like at the time when I created that painting, I was just like struggling through anxiety, and also not. knowing where I was going in my life, and basically it was a time of some confusion as well. And
Mm.
then just that particular verse just gave me a lot of like that strong foundation.
Right.
And then so me like painting this waterfall was just a reflection of Jesus saying that like even amidst uh, whatever darkness I'm going through, like my like the waterfalls, you can just like soak in who I am.
Mm.
Um, and like soaking is also like another sort of like art form that I grew up doing, and actually that I learned at Catch Your Fire Church and like in kids ministry, like they would teach us how to soak and how to experience like Holy Spirit through the arts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, do you like should I describe what soaking is?
Sure, I never heard of it.
Okay, so like soaking is basically when you just like you can be like lying down or sitting, and then you have like instrumental music, and then you can either just literally just like sit there and do nothing and like close your eyes and let Holy Spirit speak to you,
Mm-hmm.
or you can create something. You can draw a picture, paint something, or like like write a poem or something, or just like write down whatever God is like downloading into you.
Right.
Um, and I like to use the analogy that like we're like sponges and Holy Spirit is water, and we're just like soaking him up.
Mm.
And like whatever comes out of that is like his creative juices inside of us flowing out. So like going back to your original question about having these like different like creative outlets.
Mm-hmm.
I find that like one art form will help another art form. So, um, like whenever I would take dance classes, I would hear music in a different way. Like they're just like little ticks or like little like textures in the music that you would just reflect in your movement.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, so like I think that if if you're just like in one type of art form, like I would encourage you to like try different art forms because they definitely just like reflect off of each other.
Right. So we agree. There is something to that.
Yeah, for sure.
What kind of
Like,
dance? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna mention even with creative writing too, like I mean, songwriting is creative writing and
Mm.
with the addition of like, you know,
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Um, I think I'm a bit of a slow learner when it comes to appreciating art, because, like I said, I'm still learning to embrace other kinds. Um, but what kind of what kind of dance did you do when you were, I guess, when you were younger or before?
So I did ballet, and then that was my foundation. Did that for like 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've been diving into different contemporary styles. Like I tried contemporary urban for like 2 years, um, and yeah, I think I'm more of a contemporary dancer,
Yeah.
and I think I've just like really adopted that contemporary urban style. So not just having ballet is like very structured. Like you need to have like your fingers and like good turnout, like in a certain position. But I like how with contemporary urban, you can really just move certain parts of your body in response to those little ticks and like those little rhythms in a song.
That must have, but doing ballet and learning to perfect moves through structure must have really helped you to free your mind to do more freeform kind of dance. Because
Yeah.
the more or less the technique and the mental discipline is already there. And now
Mhm.
because you have all those tools under your belt, it's all about your expression now, and it must be freeing.
For sure. Um and actually it's my journey in dance is sort of similar to music because I mean like I did the whole like RCM. I have my RCM
Oh,
book.
I love how you just kind of.
Yeah, I was teaching a class earlier
Oh,
today.
okay.
But yeah, so like I did the whole like classical thing. I was actually thinking of maybe even like doing going down like the classical route, like making sure that I play the notes as
Mm.
written and making sure that my technique is flawless. And then I reached a certain point where I started discovering, those artists that I mentioned, like Stevie Wonder and like
Mm.
Tom Beach, and I just really loved how I mean, they don't need to have sheet music in front of them,
Yeah.
but they're just like it's just like mind blowing. It's crazy the stuff that they play. But I feel like I've now gone from like structure and like rigidity, is that
Mm-hmm.
word? So yeah, and going into a more like colorful, freeing sort of way.
I think um, I think what you're talking about now is the way I approach art as well, particularly music, um, because I think you can tell the difference between because all of my because people like Stevie Wonder, um, I think there's a reason why he's a lot of people's favorite musicians, because you know that all that intricate stuff that he does live or on his albums, he doesn't go into the studio or on stage thinking he's going to do that. It's a reflection of who he is. It's freestyle. And that's why I love artists, for what they do, because, or like, I love Steve Wonder because he's such a good freestylist. He's so emotional, right? And I think you could tell the difference between him just kind of riffing off a piano and someone just kind of playing over the notes, right?
Mm.
It feels so it feels so contrived. It sounds so contrived, and I think as an artist, it's important to embrace that because it's a form of expression. It's subjective. Um, it's who you are. So I really appreciate you saying that, and I guess that's kind of what you're saying about your piano playing, because you want to be rigid and be structured, but then you're starting to embrace just like, can you freestyle on a piano, like a piano solo?
So that's the thing that like I'm still working on. I think when it comes to like my songwriting, like being able to come up with these interesting chord progressions,
Yeah.
like that still takes a lot of time for me. So I'm able to do it, but just like on the spot is something that I'm still working on. So like I'm not at like Steven Tam's
I was
level.
gonna say you gotta collaborate with him. Oh my goodness.
Oh, for sure. That guy's crazy. He's so
Yeah,
super
yeah. You gotta collaborate with him. Um,
for sure.
the interview will come up, but I talk about how, like, he just floored me the first time I heard him. Because we were supposed to do it's at expression. We're supposed to be paying attention to, like, the guests and trying to relate to. But I just cannot started listening to him. And he's
I could
that.
listen to him for
Yeah,
hours.
he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, he's so good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Enough fanboying over Stephen Tam. Um, he's probably watching. He's like, what the heck?
So why are you like name dropping me?
um. Yeah. Wow. Just that topic just derailed my whole flow. Anyways. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. I think listening to you and having this conversation, you do have. It seems like you do have a clear vision. I mean, it could change, but you just seem to have a clear, like, at least short term path goal. You have your EPs your next album coming up. You're into collaborations. You're obviously choosing the right people. I mean, like, Preston is very talented just as much as you are. He has a lot of good things to say about you.
Oh,
Um,
lucky for him.
yeah, yeah.
Very talented.
Um, it's funny. Like, I think. Okay. Um, I might be misquoting, but I'm pretty sure that when I talked to Preston, he first told me about you. He told me that he was collaborating with you, and your name came up because we were actually, sorry, Stephen, like, we were talking about how great Stephen Tam is as a pianist is, or a keyboardist. And he says, "Yo, I'm collaborating with this girl who's like Stephen Tam, but not only on the piano but also the guitar." He introduced me to
Oh my
you.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So there you
Yeah.
go. Um,
Oh,
I
that's a
wanna. Sorry. Go ahead.
compliment. Oh, that's a huge compliment. Like I just feel so like, oh, thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah. The only compliment I've gotten is like, "Oh, you can grow a nice beard." Sure.
Hey, your beard is very nice.
Thank you. Okay.
You keep it
It's
long.
coming off.
Good.
It's
Yeah,
coming
coming
off one
up.
day. Um, I think having this conversation about your musical background, your study, You study music psychology research, right?
So I did, I mean, I specialized in psychology and took a lot of developmental courses,
Mm-hmm.
so like
Mm-hmm.
like child courses, and then yeah, in my fourth year, like we had to do a thesis, and yeah, and then I decided to do my thesis under Glenn Schallenberg, who, by the way, was I found out that he was a musician first before doing music psychology
Nice.
research.
Yep.
Yeah, so and I think he won like he was nominated for like what was it, a Genie Award or something?
Oh,
But yeah, he like
Juno.
wrote oh or like Genie, I forgot what type of award it was.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just really cool being able to do some research like in that field because I mean like it's a mix of music and psychology, which I love. And it was also a developmental study.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, so like I mean my target population were like kids, and then like comparing their musical memory across like those age groups, and also with like in comparison to adult participants. Um, but yeah, it's really cool because I got published, so my name is in science.
Nice. So,
You can find me on like post one.
so if we Google you, your name will come up in science.
It will. It will.
Nice.
Yeah. And like it was, oh, I should mention what the study was about. So like I studied melodic memory and also the development of like pitch memory across like these age groups. And like so like your memory for music it improves across like the lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so interesting because like your memory for pitch it's like the same across at least like from like the age groups that I studied. So yeah, musical memory improves, and then your memory for pitch is relatively constant.
When you say musical memory, are you talking about uh, what do you mean by that?
Like for oh, sorry, for melodies, so melodic memory.
Oh, so even when you get older, you still remember melodies. Is that what you're
Yeah, mm,
I think
yeah.
that's where nostalgia comes in. Is that having to do with nostalgia?
I think that could be part of it. I know that like there's like this huge, like there's also a lot of research with, like participants with Alzheimer's,
Mm-hmm.
and you find that like even though they forget everything else, even like, sadly like the names of their kids, like they still remember a tune that's played. So
Really?
that's the power of music, and
That
like
is the
what
power of music.
yeah, and like what God can do through music too.
I think I've had um, just the other night, yesterday I think it was. I was watching a YouTube video of they they brought like a group of cast members from the movie Goonies from like 30 years ago. They got them all together and they started on Zoom and they were like recreating the lines that they said, the iconic lines, and then while they were doing it, they played the music, the score. I almost cried. I don't know what it was. It was just like it was so nostalgic, and I think even when I'm like 89, I'm still gonna remember it. It's gonna have that much more of an effect on me. I don't think movies will do it. I don't think visual art will do it. I think it's music. There's something powerful about music. And when you
Mm-hmm.
say that it has that long-standing kind of effect, I believe you 100%.
Yeah, which is why I just love how, like, I mean, God created music
Mm-hmm.
and how it speaks to us, like, in our soul, and
Yeah.
even with our, like, cognitively, like, how our brain processes music. It's just like, yeah, that's why I love being, like, a musicianary. It's like God speaking
Yeah.
through that.
And I think and I think I answered I was gonna ask you something, but I think I answered my own question. Just I was gonna ask you how important do you think um like how important do you think music and psychology um is for a person, or like, or how relevant do you think the that the grouping of those two groups are, like groupings of the two like music and psychology, like there's a lot of music therapy. um People, I don't know what people's general thoughts are, the whole idea of therapy, how can music help and all that, but um I think after having this conversation, it's evident that it's very important, it's very effective, and God can use all different means, including music therapy. Why not? And you are the first musicianary I've met who's even uh, who studied psych as your background, right? And I
Yeah,
think I don't know about now, but I know these. Um, I kind of knew some people who kind of looked down on psychology as a Christian. Do
mm,
you know what I mean? But I would like to think that we're a little more open to these sort of things and understanding that God is big and He can use any different means like this.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I guess now that we're talking about psychology, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's like even there's the social psychology aspect of music where
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just even like actually, let's not even talk about psych. I just think that music is a wonderful thing that just ties everyone together,
Mm-hmm.
and like it unites people who, like, I mean, like music is just like a common ground. So I'm thinking about like my students, even like they all have different personalities, and like maybe like prior to the music class, they would not have gotten along together,
Yeah.
but like because we're all like working towards like playing an ensemble piece or something, it's like we all are like connected that way. So like music is a thing connecting us together.
Yeah. It's the universal language. Yeah.
Yeah.
I for some reason when you were talking about that, the first thought that came to my mind was when Mulan first came out, the animated version.
Uh,
As we all know, Christina Aguilera sang that song, like But I remember when that song came out, there was like also a was it a Chinese version, and I even a Korean version.
oh really? I
Yeah, there
didn't
was a
know about.
Korean version. Yeah, so and in my mind I thought, oh, okay, so music music is really universal. They have that. You have a melody, and it doesn't matter if you're Korean or Chinese or North American or whatever. You relate to it. You watch the movie, and you can make them a song. So I don't know why, but I think that kind of not opened my eyes. I don't say, but it's just it made me realize a little bit more that it is indeed a universal language, right?
Mm,
Um, yeah, but I think I think this was a very eventful and fun conversation. What do you think?
yeah, I had a lot of fun with. I mean, like I love listening to your podcast, and
You
I just
do.
feel
Oh my
honored
goodness.
that I'm like part of your podcast. So thanks for inviting
Oh,
me.
thank you for doing this. Would you be down to doing this again one day?
Oh, for sure, and maybe in person after this
Yes, I
quarantine.
hope that can. I'm longing for the day. And you know what? Maybe we can even have a panel. That's what I've always wanted to do.
Ooh, okay, I
Yeah.
like the sound.
But before we go, can you just let the listeners know really quickly all your handles where we can find you? We'll have them in the description, but just good to call them out.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Jaimie Poon Music. So it's like my full name plus the name plus music. And then I also have my YouTube channel, which is under my full name, Jaimie Poon. And you can find me on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play as well. You can find my music there. So,
Nice. Okay, great. All right. So yeah, again, we'll have those. We'll have those in the description. And Jamie, again, thank you very much for being here.
well, thank you.
And
It was a
I'm sure we'll be meeting virtually soon, another like group meetings and chats. And it was great to get to know you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun.
All right, so that is Jaimie Poon. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.
Cut. All right, it was great.
I did it.
Kindness goes a long way. We need deeds, not empty thoughts. And the one who showed me told